who in Canada might be next. I want to know who's on the list that you think should be watching out or we should pay attention to. That's definitely a threat that America might be going after.
I have the feeling that the US government knows that in Canada, Chinese Communist Party connected money launderers are, as my US government sources or experts say, they're command and control of Western Hemisphere money laundering for the cartels. They are based in Toronto and Vancouver. So, what am I talking about? I may be talking about, a former Chinese military official who's guilty of war crimes, whose lawyer is able to cover everything up, who was found in surveillance sitting beside Justin Trudeau in some strange meeting that Justin Trudeau can't explain. I know the US government knows that this Chinese military gangster is in Vancouver, or he has friends in Toronto that appear beside high level Canadian officials. So the question is, why isn't Canada's federal police or the federal government in Ottawa cracking down on these senior Chinese international fentanyl traffickers and money launderers who I would say are above the Mexican cartel bosses in wealth and sophistication and state connections. So who's next? Look, I know I'm not going to name the name of I named the name of Justin Trudeau, who the former prime minister. You can't make this up. I reported, as well as our national newspaper, the Globe and Mail, that Justin Trudeau, for some reason, was, in a surveillance operation. He was meeting with these Chinese fentanyl money launderers and traffickers in Vancouver. And why was he meeting? I don't know. But I know that these very same Chinese suspects are involved in sort of the political influence and election interference and money laundering and corruption of Canadian officials. So I think probably there's Chinese suspects, there's Iranian suspects, there is Punjabi suspects and Mexican suspects in Canada that are next. But again, the lawyers and Canadian politicians that are friendly with them, if I was running a task force in the United States, I'd most definitely be telling President Trump that those Canadian politicians and lawyers should be the target of some investigation.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that is that an open source image that we can find online with Justin Trudeau in a meeting with some individuals
Well,
if we want to do our own homework?
you can do your homework. You can go to the Globe and Mail story where the guy that I made notorious named Paul King Jin. So this was a major casino money launderer, a guy very active in Mexico, a guy active in Panama, as I've reported, major suspect in fentanyl money laundering and trafficking. For some reason, was at a hotel meeting in the Vancouver area, you know, uh, during a major money laundering investigation, and Justin Trudeau was meeting in a hotel with this gangster Paul King Jin and other people that I've written about. So you can find that Globe and Mail story and bring it up for our episode, our talk here. You can look at the cover of Willful Blindness and you can see Justin Trudeau sitting beside an individual that I'm pointing towards, in a fundraising meeting, which would be separate from this, surveillance operation gone wrong, where Trudeau was, as it's reported, Canadian surveillance units were very distressed that their target for the operation was the Chinese people, and Justin Trudeau walks into their operation. So yeah, you can find it. That's all open and documented.
I could imagine those individuals who were investigating that as he walked in, they were like, "Oh crap."
Oh crap! Exactly. It's like a Narcos episode, right?
Oh man, that's wild. Well, what else is there out there that we need to hear about? Us in America, those in Canada, those who listen to the show around the world. What are some thoughts that what's coming up down the road? What are some things that are happening that maybe we haven't talked about today?
Yeah, what I'm watching, again, I think like the narco hybrid threat activity from the Mexican cartels. I believe, the US government is not only concerned, about the fentanyl, meth, and cocaine being flooded into American cities by these networks and people like Maduro, and their associates in Hezbollah, but they're worried specifically with the Jalisco cartel of their militarized posture, right? So these people have rocket launchers, they have drones that could threaten America's southern border. So what I'm watching for, not in an immediate story, but as a threat, is look, could the Mexican cartels and Iranian threat networks or Middle Eastern cells already on the soil in the United States, could they combine? Let's say, like, let's use our thinking cap here. The B-2s and the F-35 start going into Iran in the coming days. Could there be a scenario where Iranian threat actors and Mexican cartel actors got together to cause turmoil in North American cities? That's an out the box sort of maybe an outlier threat, but I strongly believe it's something that U.S. intelligence probably is thinking about now.
Yeah, and you mentioned something that I've been paying attention to a lot recently is the drone warfare or the drone capabilities. That is an intimidating one for me. I've watched what's happening in Ukraine. I watch how the advances of these drones and how they're using them these days. It's terrifying. It's the scariest kind of warfare I've ever seen for anyone who's ever been boots on ground. But the other thing is that they're taking these skill sets learned in Ukraine and they're teaching it to Mexican cartel members. They're teaching it to individuals down there who have nefarious, want to use these for nefarious reasons. And that to me is probably one of the most immediate threats that I see in America that I'm like, we don't have any defense for this, no legit defense. Now, we heard what happened in El Paso, still not really fully sure what happened in El Paso, but we heard there was some kind of activity with
Yeah.
some kind of drones or UFO, and then a laser was used. So I'm curious to see what kind of defense mechanisms we have in the event that some kind of mass attack happens with drones to take out. I mean, look, Fort Bliss is right there, not even 20 minutes from that border. That would be a thought of easy action if they wanted to. What are your thoughts on
I
drones?
I totally agree. That brings to my mind, look, Ukraine, as you know, a brilliant attack in Russia where a semi-trailer or a truck opens up and the drones attack.
Yes.
Look, a major threat that Americans should be aware of is Chinese nationals buying up major pieces of property around U.S. military bases. Or another story I just covered, these Chinese criminal biolabs in Las Vegas and California. Look, let me just break that one down for a second. This is a guy from China that came to Vancouver, set up a massive fraud of stealing like intellectual property on cattle because he wanted to get more sort of milk for the Chinese market. He's a major criminal in Vancouver. A court case proves it, $300 million fraud, stealing American technology. What does he do? He goes down to California and Nevada, and he's set up allegedly these biolabs, which have inside them, uh, you know, properties for AIDS, properties for COVID, I believe malaria, some, hugely dangerous, biological hazardous materials. There were traces of methamphetamine. So bringing in sort of the Chinese threats to properties there. And again, some of these illegal labs appear to be close to US military properties. So that doesn't talk about drones, but that talks about a potential threat on American soil by a Chinese criminal with connections to China's military. So yeah,
Yeah,
one
that one's
more
scary.
piece. My friend Philip Lanzicki, a great American reporter who's really digging into the CCP threat, he did a great story showing again some Chinese nationals living in Vancouver had bought up a bunch of trailer parks beside the B-2 bomber base in Missouri. So and that looks like, positioning beside a hugely critical US military asset. And, could they have some drones in there? That's exactly the type of thing that I think they would. And it looks like the state government there has responded to my colleagues' reporting, and they're going to seize that land. So that's another big
Well,
threat
that's
that I'm
great.
looking at.
Good. Yeah, man. There's so many out there, and for the ones that we do find, how many are out there that we haven't found yet?
Hi, everybody. This episode is brought to you by our partners at GHOSTBED. And today I'm actually sitting down with its founder, Mark Warner, to talk about the story behind their brand and why they're all in on all of us getting better sleep.
I've had 3 neck surgeries over the past 27 years. And so I couldn't find a pillow or mattress that worked for me. And so I ended up having to invent my own. I took great care in it so it would take care of my problems. And then I also sleep warm, so I invented a lot of cooling technologies and got a number of patents on that kind of technology. So that was the origin of the purpose. But I wanted to start it with my wife and then my kids as a family business. So my grandfather, after World War I, he started the Werner Company, which ultimately became Werner Ladder. And then my dad invented the aluminum ladder, the machines to make it, and then he invented the fiberglass ladder and fiberglass and the machines to make that. So I was reared in that environment of quality, engineering, inventing, all that kind of stuff. And I grew up in that. So when I was starting GHOSTBED and making my own memory foam pillows and mattress, that was my kind of history, and allowed me to kind of really make a very quality product. And that's really how we got started. And we're all about high quality at an affordable price. So for all of our Ironclad viewers, we have a special offer. So you go to ghostbed.com/ironclad, and we're giving an extra 15% off, which is a really big discount on already low prices. To come to GHOSTBED, take advantage of that special pricing with Ironclad, and enjoy a GHOSTBED mattress and other products.